Everybody, welcome back to this episode of BG Weekly. As you can see, if you're watching this video, things are a little bit different. For today, you've just got me. Marlena has stepped aside and has a new role as the head writer for BGFC. So if you're signed up for the newsletter, you will get to still see her work in the newsletter. Today on the podcast, we have Coach Evan. What's up, Coach?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. But before we jump into the conversation with Coach today, let's go over kind of how things are looking right now heading into the final weekend of the Kentucky-Tennessee Premier Division. Still at the top of the table, we have Beeman United with 22 points and a goal differential of plus 40. That's just laughable. However, they haven't played since May 14th, so whoever gets to play them in the first round of the playoffs, they're going to be a little rusty, I'm afraid. In second place, we currently still have Deportivo with 19 points and a goal differential of plus 7. For those who are newer to the podcast, they are the newer team out of ETown. They only have losses to Beeman United, Iterbide, and BGFC. So they've had a really solid first season. And they're definitely in the playoff. Seeding may pend this weekend's results. Most likely they'll be the 3 seed, though. Then we jump down to the current number 3 team, Iterbide FC, with 18 points and a goal differential of plus 20. It's half of what Beeman had, but still is laughable how much some of these top tier clubs have been. If you remember, Iterbide was the game that BGFC upset them, preventing them from taking that number 1 seed into the playoffs. They still have a matchup remaining this weekend, but they will most likely wind up with the 2 seed and hosting a home match. Then in fourth place, your BGFC Golden Lions on a 3-game unbeaten streak. We are locked into the playoffs. However, we'll dive into this more with Coach Evan. I think we're probably locked into that 4-5 matchup. Maybe we can sneak into third, but we'll have to see how things play out. And fifth seed, your last playoff team for this year, your Nashville Knights. 15 points, goal differential of plus 10. For a team that started 0-4, the former Music City side has really turned things around. They have a huge matchup this weekend against Iterbide that'll really change how things play out in the playoffs. Now moving into the teams that are not going to qualify for the playoffs, Midwest Hooligans, 11 points, goal differential of -6. They were at a 0 differential before this past weekend's game against Iterbide, -6 in that game for them. So they did upset BGFC, but that was pretty much their only big win of the season. Seventh place, Pumas Premier with 3 points. I don't know what's going on with that team. We'll talk to Coach in just a second about them. I know they've had a couple of cancellations, postponements all over the place. So we'll dive into them. And also, please stop calling yourself Paducah's team. You play in Mayfield, which is 45 minutes south. You are not in Paducah. Paducah deserves a much better team. Eighth place, we have Coptic City, Nashville, 0 points, -72. That's not a joke. -72. Look it up on the UPSL website if you're curious. I hate to say it, but I urge the UPSL to consider not inviting them back to next year's spring season at least, because that's not a professional or semi-professional organization. And then somehow, ETown Ignite, Elizabethtown Ignite, has -1 points. I don't understand that. I didn't know you could go negative, but there they are. -1 points with a goal differential of -28. So now, as we mentioned earlier, we got Coach Evan here. Coach, I want to start talking about you. I want to know the people that don't know the club. I want them to get to know you a little bit more. First question, though, very, very important. I'm starting off with a super heater. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
And this is like a 90th minute header into the back of the net.
We'll take that.
You're from Lexington, originally, that area. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite restaurant, and why is it Ramsey's?
Oh, is it Ramsey's now?
Yes, absolutely. It has to be Ramsey's.
Well,
Ramsey's is the best
It's a quality place for sure, but there's an Italian place there called Giuseppe's.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely phenomenal on Nicholsville Road. Yeah,
yeah.
I used to go there all the time.
Just south there, yeah.
Great little date night place. Fantastic food. Yeah.
I have to agree with you. That is a really good place. I do love Ramsey's. Whenever I go back to Lexington, I always have to eat there, but
love Ramsey's. It loves me too.
Clearly it loves me.
Absolutely.
Loves me a lot.
But Giuseppe's is absolutely, if there's one place I could go to in Lexington, that's where I want to be.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, Coach, talk to us a little bit about growing up with soccer. What was it like for you? Where did you play? Some of that stuff.
Well, I grew up, my dad started a club there called Storm. And so when I was 9 years old, we started playing club. And I'll be honest, we kind of created what we thought was an all-star team in our area. Of course,
there you go.
This was years and years ago. And I'll never forget our first game. We played a team out of Louisville called Javanot, and they smoked us like 9-0. And we had no idea what would have hit us. But over the years, as we went on, it took us about 5 or 6 years. We ended up getting to the 2 state finals. And so went on and played in college from there at Cumberland College, which was a top 25 NAIA program. Went in as one of 17 freshmen. We had guys from all over the country. Our coach was a phenomenal recruiter. And so we played. Lindsey Wilson was in our conference, who's, you know, at that time they actually won the national championship my sophomore year.
That's so interesting. These smaller schools like in Kentucky that have such a history of soccer that not that many people know about.
Yeah. Well, Lindsey Wilson had, at that time, you know, FIFA became kind of a really impressive video game. And so you could look on FIFA's, at that time, you could go on the Kenyan national team on FIFA.
Yeah.
And most of that team was playing for Lindsey Wilson.
There was a guy that played for Lindsey Wilson. So I was an RA at Murray State, and I had a resident who went to Lindsey Wilson as undergrad. I swear the story connects back to soccer.
Yeah.
But his roommate was a player that actually played for the Crew from Lindsey Wilson.
Probably Sean Francis.
Yes. Oh, my God. Yes. Sean Francis. Yeah.
Yeah, Sean. Now, Sean and I played men's league together. We actually played in a couple tournaments and stuff. I went on and played. I played 1 year in PDL, which was an expansion franchise in West Virginia. And so at the time, kind of how it's structured now, there's no PDL anymore.
Right.
But MLS had just started. It was probably 3 years old. Then you had underneath that was A-League, which is now like what would be considered a USL Championship, which is where Louisville City is.
Right.
And then below that was Tier 3, which was PDL. And so that's where I played for a year on a club team or a team called West Virginia Chaos. It's an expansion franchise.
Was that the same league as the Nashville Metros?
I think Metros were in a league below that.
League below, okay.
They were in PSL, I believe.
But
anyway, the PDL was a great league. You know, they would put you into a host family, different things, and you'd have apartments and stuff, and they give you a job. But
so is that kind of like
the money was not what it is today.
So you were paid for some of that.
You weren't paid for that.
No, not at all.
Professional development league.
Okay.
But the goal was, work yourselves in, get scouted, have an opportunity. Could you push yourself into an A-League franchise or something like that? But I was blessed. I was an All-American in college my senior year, playing Division II in West Virginia.
Nice.
I had transferred schools, and it was I led our conference in goals as a center back with 10 goals, and was captain of the team, and loved the game. But got done, played PDL for a season, and then it was time to. My dad owned a car dealership, but we've been in the car Chevrolet business for over 80 years.
Oh, wow!
And so I was going to be 4
He knows a thing or two about cars, I would say.
Dad said, "Hey, it's time for you to come back and work." And I had some injuries and things, and so I came back and started getting involved in the car world, and realized I missed the game, and so I got into coaching.
So. Other than just kind of missing the game, was there anything else that really was like, I can do this, I can be a successful coach?
Well, I had kind of started, so my high school coach got me involved, and his wife unfortunately got cancer, and he was coaching a little U12 team at the time at Storm Club where I started, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in coaching?" He said, "I always thought you'd be a good coach." I said, "I'll try it out, sure." So I took this little U12 team, and at the time it was a tournament. The state tournament was called Soccer Village, or it was called the Eurosport Cup. And it's for U12 teams. I got them all the way to the final. And I was like, I kind of enjoy doing this.
Right.
So I started looking into coaching education and things. I got involved with Georgetown College as an assistant coach.
Nice.
Went there, became the recruit coordinator for them. And then, things just kind of took off. I got a director job when I was about 26. And,
wow.
Took a small club in Versailles, which had about 20 teams, and we won 3 state cups, and then moved over to Lexington. And then came down this way.
So, and that's a great transition point. So, talking about semi-professionally with BGFC, why did you decide to help start the team, and what made you really interested in starting a team here in Bowling Green? Well,
for me, the longer you work in the game, you create a ton of relationships with kids, with parents and people. But I'd always wanted to be involved in my own club and own my own club, have potential to make those kinds of decisions and possibly build a professional or semi-professional program.
Right.
And we felt like this community was begging for it. And so, there's tons of talent, not only in Bowling Green, but around the neighboring cities and things. And if we got it right, we felt like it could be pretty impressive and the community would support it, So that was always a dream of mine. I never knew where it would be or where the game would lead me, I've had lots of opportunities to do different things, but it's led me here, and it's a great place to raise a family, and I'm enjoying the community now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the first team, our only team right now that we're fielding, we'll talk about the Youth Academy in a second, but what went into building that staff? Like, was it just like people you knew, or how did that process work?
Well, we had, there was a lot of good coaches that decided they wanted to play, so that kind of worked itself out, and then trying to hire the right guys, Chad Folk is the goalkeeper director we knew was really good at what he did and locally. And right. So you're also, on a budget and trying to make the pieces fit. And then, Craig and I, we kind of saw the game very similar, Craig Widener, and I felt like he would be a great guy to work with off of each other. You don't always want an assistant coach that's going to tell you, yes, everything is perfect. And Craig is very good at recognizing things that, maybe that you don't see. That's the quality of an assistant
good
coach.
Counterbalance to you.
He's also, yeah, exactly. He's also very good at managing players, and that's helpful. But Craig did a fantastic job while he was here, and now having Sean on staff, we're learning how to work together and things. He adds a lot of value, a lot of experience. So we're growing in that area.
Okay. So now it's kind of shifting gears. Most recent exciting announcement: we started a youth club, sure. Or youth academy, I should say. So what is your vision for this youth academy?
Well, that's a good question. The number one thing is, can we take a young player, a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, and develop them all the way to the first team? And if we can do that, then can we sell them? Can we get that player, and then the money that's recovered from that, can we recoup that into the resources to develop the program even higher, build facilities,
right.
Build a top-notch coaching staff, continue to grow the coaching staff. The better coaches you have, the easier it is to develop players. Ultimately, the players are the resource. And good players bring other good players here. Long term, we want to have a truly professional, paid number one team, senior team,
right? Where
the guys come in and they're potentially USL 1 players. I don't know that Bowling Green will be big enough to be a USL championship city, but who knows? But
you never know.
Perfect fit for USL 1.
Right.
We're between Nashville and Louisville. You've got Lexington now, you've got Memphis, you got Knoxville, so there's USL programs popping up everywhere. But
yeah, they do seem pretty aggressive on like adding new teams to that league.
Sure, they want the key is facilities. The key is the city support, tourism, all that kind of stuff. And so Bowling Green's growing. It's
right.
150,000 people now. Yeah, where's it going to be in 5-10 years?
200 at least, right? Like you would think.
Yeah, and so Lexington's a city with 300,000. Mm-hmm. We're not that far off.
Right.
So,
if we're 100,000 under, I mean that's going to feel a lot closer than what people may think. And there's new businesses that are coming in all the time. There's a new factory that's coming in on the south end of town. A Japanese battery company, I believe. There's going to be a new plant in Elizabethtown, so we can probably pull from some of those folks, as their kids get older and stuff like that. Sorry, Ignite and Deportivo, if y'all have any plans for having youth academies now, we're going to take all those kids.
But true, getting back to it, Jimmie, the key is, like I said, can we take these kids, that have these dreams, and can we push them to the absolute max of their potential? And as that goes along the way, you're going to win state cups and do those kinds of things, and that's the fun of the journey. But can you get those kids to get it to a place where they never thought they could get to, and achieve things that they never knew that they could? They think about it, but do they know how to get there?
Right.
Is there a map to help them get there? And that's fortunately kind of what I bring to the table and understanding how to do it. Been doing it for a long time. I've probably coached over 200 kids that played in college.
Wow,
with 5
that's
guys.
A lot of kids.
I've worked with 5 guys that are playing professionally. So latest one is a kid at Inter Miami right now in May.
Yeah,
and he played for us at 97 LFC. So, but there's a lot of them, and as you grow, then the desire for other kids to want to be a part of that grows. And so then your teams take off, and you got a couple really good teams per age group, and you're growing.
So you mentioned that legitimate path to professional soccer here in Bowling Green. What else kind of separates us from some of our competition? Let's not name anyone, but what separates us from some of those other teams?
Well, there's a place for everyone, and
absolutely,
there's nothing wrong with having a recreational club, but in terms of development, there's nobody that touches what we're doing. From our coaching staff being top notch and being truly licensed and qualified. And not just having a piece of paper, but also having guys that have done it.
Right.
That's the difference. We don't say, we don't have high school kids working with youth teams.
Nope.
We have paid professionals that have been doing this for a long time.
People who have the experience.
If I'm a parent, do I want my son or daughter who's U12 to go play for a coach that's 19 or 20 years old and never really even played at that level, much less had a chance to coach at that level? I would want my son or daughter to play for the coach that's been there and done it.
Right.
And then, be able to be in a pathway where, hey, if we do things right, there is potential for us to have those opportunities. Our youth teams are going to be playing other USL academies.
Yeah.
They'll be playing NISA academies. Eventually we'll set up friendlies where we're playing, some Nashville Academy teams. That's on the agenda. Our 06s are absolutely phenomenal. Back-to-back state champion type team. Most of those kids are coming into the program, and we sent 2 of our players to Nashville Academy. So from that team. So
to the MLS academies?
Yes, to the MLS Academy. There's
Wow.
3 of them. There was 107 and 2 06s that are down there now. There's other clubs that claim their development, but I was the one that saw most of it,
right.
And the coaches within our staff, AJ Ray, those guys were involved. Michael Swerkos were involved in those kids' development. So, there's one kid that's a U17 going to Bosnia for the U17 Bosnia national team.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we started with him when, Coach Craig started with him at first when he was
wow.
U10, U9, U10. And we carried him all the way through U15 until he went to Nashville. So,
wow.
We know how to do it. And we have a track record of doing it. That's the biggest difference. Does it cost a little bit of money? Sure, anything costs some money.
Right.
But is it worth it? And would you rather put your money where you know that your kid's going to get developed? Absolutely.
Right. And, I think you brought up a really good point there. There are multiple clubs out there for different needs. If you're not someone who's wants to be super professional and wants to have a professional type experience as a youth player, those other clubs may be good for that.
And here's the thing too, Jimmie, is our goal as a program is to have a program for every player in the community. If they want to play recreational, we're going to build a recreational program.
Okay.
But for the youth academy part of it and all the way through, we are trying to create a professional pathway.
You are dropping some dimes in there. Possible recreation league, possible girls and women's team. I hear what you're picking down there.
We want to be the club of the community, and we're going to be. And
right.
And we want to have an opportunity for every kid that wants to play here to be able to do that.
Okay. So with that in mind, Coach, I have heard a lot of hubbub on social media, and I've seen some emails that some of the other youth clubs have sent out. Is there anything specifically that you would like to address when it comes to those other clubs?
Yeah, I would just, we're very proud of what we're doing and where we're headed. We hired the staff. We brought these guys in because of the vision that we share. And that's
right.
why most of these kids come and most of these families come. We've got kids from all over Western Kentucky that come here and play for us. Most of those kids will tell you, and they don't leave. They come here and they're driving, an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, 2-3 nights a week just to come to practice.
Right.
Why do they do that? Well, they do it because it's top notch, it's top quality. The next thing is, can we build a quality facility to be able to host all that all the time, And can the city parks get
right.
behind what we're doing to support us? Because that's going to be key too. We've had a lot of interest in a girls program, and it's our goal to build something like that.
Sure.
Right now, we want to take it one step at a time.
Right.
The next thing is we have to be able to have a place to host our girls.
Right.
And we don't have that yet, so we're working with the city to make that possible. But there's just, we're very proud of what we're doing. We're super excited. We've had a tremendous amount of registrations in for tryouts, and this week it's going to be awesome. And the staff is quality, and they're really excited to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
We're having a lot of guys that continue to reach out, that want to get involved. We're going to do what we can to help them, and we'll see where this thing goes. But we're pretty excited about what's happening.
Yeah, and I think it is an exciting time. I mean, just being around the office, talking to some of the other folks, like there's a lot of excitement going on with BGFC right now. So, I'm really confused, if I'm being honest. Why are some of these other clubs trying to confuse other families and trying to say things that aren't, I'll flat out say it, they aren't true.
Sure. Well, like I said, Jimmie, people are going to talk, and that's fine. When they come over and see what we're doing, they stay. And that's the difference. And so come check it out. Come be a part. That's what tryouts are.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make you mean that you're committing to a club.
Absolutely.
You're allowed to go to tryouts in Louisville. There's probably 12 different clubs now.
Right.
And there's probably 4 that are top-notch clubs. Well, go try out all 4 of them.
Right.
And see the difference. Go to the 2 or 3 tryouts, and then you'll see the biggest differences when you get there. So we had an incredible U9 and 10 and U11 tryout a few weeks ago. We formed 3 teams already.
That's so crazy that we've already got that formed.
And a lot of those kids came from those other clubs. So that should tell you enough.
Well, you heard it here first. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit, Coach. I want to kind of go through some of the games this season and talk a little bit about what happened, so that people out there, maybe if they haven't made it to a game or they didn't see the results online. So going all the way back, we did lose that opening preseason match to Metro Louisville. You and I have talked about that a lot, so I don't want to stick on that too much. In short, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of experiment, just trying to get a lot of different things out there. Preseason match doesn't mean much, right? No, we had a totally different team that was there that day than where we are now. Yeah. But that team was good enough to get a win over Nashville Knights 3-1. Nissick had a hat trick in that game. For me, Amisi and the back line was some of my most impressive things. However, we move on to that next matchup in Murfreesboro against Beeman United, and it did not go our way in any way, shape, form, or fashion. 7-2. On paper, it seems like a really bad loss. However, I think there's more to that. So, to me, it seemed like we didn't have our full team, especially what we have now. It's totally different. As well as the match just seemed to almost get away from us. We're always on our back foot that game. Sure. So, Coach, from your perspective, what happened in that match, and what did you take away from it? The biggest thing that happened in the game is we struggled to adjust to their formation and how they play, their style of play. Talk about that.
They were a 3-4-3. We struggled to figure out how to match up in midfield, how to match up in the back line. But it also helped us realize going into it after that game how we should adjust. Some players were being played in the wrong position. Some out of necessity because we weren't at our full roster.
Right.
So that's how it goes sometimes. We got into our speed of play wasn't good enough. Yeah. But simple man-to-man tracking from midfield, tracking from the back line, just simple tactical principles.
Well, and specifically on that, I remember, I don't know if it was their first or second goal. Literally, the guy drove in from almost half field all the way in. Yeah. Like no one stepped in. Yeah. Nobody stepped in to stop him. Not to use a basketball reference, but sometimes you have to stop ball. And we didn't.
Yes. But no, we watched film that week. There was a lot of guys pointing fingers after the game, immediately after. And then once you watch the film, it was kind of eye-opening for them and very humbling. Right. But there's things that, when we talk to them as coaching staff, and some guys want to take the criticism. Some guys, they're proud of who they are as a player. They've accomplished some things, but they need to be able to put that aside and listen. And then when they see it on film, they really can't say anything. And they learn from it. So we did respond after that game.
Absolutely. And you're exactly right. Next match was at home against Deportivo Jalisco, 4-1 victory. You kind of alluded to this, Coach, but, just to restate, what was the biggest difference between Beeman United and Deportivo?
Well, Beeman was a better team than Deportivo. There's no doubt. We also got that red card early against Beeman, so we were playing a man down for about 45 minutes. So, but, and guys, let's be honest. I mean, we're very good at home, and we've struggled on the road. Well, why do we struggle on the road? Because we haven't consistently taken the same team on the road that's been at our home games. We also had been able to watch film, so we corrected some things. We changed some things in midfield. And the biggest thing we could talk about with the players all the time is being available. Player availability through injury or just simply being available to be on the squad. So, but we played well against Deportivo. The team. If we do the little things, if we play simple, if guys look to play off each other, play with each other, we're pretty dangerous. If we get into things where we're trying to dribble and everybody wants to be a one-on-one player and we're making bad decisions, it's going to be a long day. So
right. So from there went into that month-long break. What was your approach to the break? What was training like? Those kind of things.
It was good. I mean, that was kind of a new preseason almost.
For real, though.
And we also started getting some of the college guys back. And so, we were trying to get through those first 3 games knowing that we had a lot of talent coming back in and get those guys then once they got in, get them kind of acclimated to how we wanted to play. So that was important.
So with, Jansen and some of the other folks that came in at that point, was there any chemistry issues? Was there anything that you were concerned about, especially during that break?
No, the chemistry was never the issue. It's just trying to get guys acclimated. And also, guys, as a staff, how often can we have the same back four playing together? Mm-hmm. How often can we get the same midfield playing together? Health-wise, the guys making sure they're at training, things like that. So we've got some talented guys. They don't always show up. So we can't roster them if they're not showing up. So that stuff's important. But the group is, from a chemistry standpoint, I feel like it's a better group than it was last year.
Yeah, and that first game that was supposed to happen was that trip to Mayfield against the Paducah Pumas Premier, whatever your name is. Just get out of our league. But they canceled for the first time. I kind of heard some mixed reports. At first we were told the school wasn't ready. They aerated the field. However, I heard from an official in one of our other matches who was supposed to do that game that actually the Graves County High School was hosting prom that weekend, and they didn't want any additional people up there at the school for that weekend. I know our game was supposed to be on Friday. Prom would have been on Saturday. But it just seemed kind of confusing. So I don't know, is there any other things that you have on that?
No, I mean, I know their coach real well, and he's a solid guy. Chili is over there, and he's done a great job with their program. He did send me pictures of the film or of the field.
So it was tore up.
He was very upset about it. He wants to play. They've been in a really unfortunate situation. They've struggled with refs getting over there.
Yep.
But Chili's a top-notch guy. And
so I'll take my statement back.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'll walk it back.
Yeah, he's a good friend and a colleague, and it's really not up to him.
So then the first match returning from that break was the Coptic Nashville City, 18-0, biggest goal differential in franchise history. It looks nice on paper. Was there anything that you took away from it?
He gave us a chance to play some guys, and that was good. You can't see a lot, but it's, the guys came out and responded and wanted to play and got a result and moved on. So,
do you know the coach down at Coptic?
I do not.
Good. I will happily say it again. I really do. And I'm being dead serious. The UPSL needs to consider not having them in the league. That's not acceptable. They lost every game by close to 10 goals. There are teams in this league that are good that deserve those kind of victories, like us and Beeman and Iterbide. But some of these other teams are beating them 12-0. You're just as big of a scrub as they are. Sorry. Not sorry. But that huge win and the big goal differential set us up in a chance where we could have had a chance at first place. However, next weekend, back on the road, this time in Evansville, Indiana, against Midwest Hooligans. Another road game, another loss, 3-0. To me, it really seemed like the team just didn't have what it took to beat Midwest Hooligans. They expected to roll in and get an easy W and didn't fight. They didn't complete passes. It was some simple things of not fighting for the ball, some stuff like that. From your perspective, what in the heck happened in Evansville?
Yeah, we had Iterbide set for Sunday.
Right.
And bottom line, I think guys overlooked it. We know they did.
Right.
We had discussed it quite a bit in training that week. Training had not been as strong as it needed to be. And, it transpired into to how we played. So, you got to give Hooligans credit. They had a huge crowd there that night.
They did.
And they were up for it. I mean, they kind of want to turn this into a rivalry game.
Oh, I think it easily could be.
and hats off to them. They played really well. They were physical. They were first to the ball. They made us uncomfortable. And we never dictated how the game needed to be played on our terms. We were forced to play on theirs and chase the game. So, there was a chance. It was a 1-0 game, and Ryan hit the post.
Yep. Would have made a big difference.
Would have made a huge difference. But after that, we really didn't respond great. Second half, we controlled possession, but we did not get a lot of good looks. Shots on target. So I think we might have had 3 or 4 shots in the whole game, and maybe 1 on target. So,
it wasn't, offensively speaking, it wasn't a good effort in my mind.
But we were missing some guys that game.
True.
And once again, we didn't travel well. We didn't have Demir that night. We didn't have Jansen that night. We were still working on some things in the midfield. Defensively, we had our back line, and so, to give up 3 wasn't a great thing with what we felt like was our starting back line at the time.
But
we were also missing Peyton.
Midwest earned those 3 though. Like they did fight, and they really pushed us. So I don't want to discredit them too much.
Well, and we missed, like I said, we missed Peyton, and that helps us a lot defensively from an outside midfielder standpoint too. And we weren't tracking very well on the outsides, but live and learn.
Right.
There's a chance for some guys to step up, and unfortunately they didn't. But it helps you make your decisions moving forward. So.
And you mentioned their crowd. Like, they were all over Jimmie in that first half. They were all over Ben in that second half. Like, they were a good crowd. But we moved on from that one. We lost out a chance on first place. Solidly still in the playoff, though. And we take on the biggest matchup of the season at home at the Pit versus Iterbide. Their fans, the Iterbide fans, showed up early, and my Lord, they were spirited.
Yes, they were.
Maybe a little too spirited.
What a great environment, though, that night.
Oh, my gosh.
That was incredible.
Yeah, and it really pushed, our fans. It pushed the Lions Den to actually show up and to do some good cheering and help push the team. They...
Well, you can see what we play like when we're motivated. You
right.
know? So,
right.
Can we get them motivated every game? We'll see. But that was, that was probably what we had told them was our best performance maybe in the history of the club that night. So it was a very good team to beat. They have a lot of former pros. They're mature guys, and they're good. So to win 4-2 and to dominate the way we did, it shows you what you're capable of.
Was there anything specifically that we did that really put us over the top, I should say?
I think it was the first time we were at full cylinder, had everybody available, and everybody was tuned in and ready to go. They knew it was a big game. Right. And plus coming off the loss Friday.
Oh yeah.
You had a chance to respond. So, our midfield was incredible that night. Backline defensively were really good, and we got a ton, from the front 3. So,
what was the locker room like after that?
They were pretty fired up.
I bet.
Yeah.
I saw some photos afterwards, and they just looked like they were having a good time. So after the biggest upset in UPSL for the season, your Golden Lions stayed at home to take on ETown Ignite, 4-1 victory. Coach, talk to us about how you really helped refocus the team after that huge win to take care of business versus ETown.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, some of these things we talked to the guys about, sometimes you're going to be more talented than the other teams, and you don't have to put out your best effort. This group is talented. They're very, very talented. But they have to get to the point where they're consistently putting the effort and the work in to improve.
Right.
So, we stepped on field. We played very well that night. We still felt like we probably could have left 4 or 5 goals out there, that we didn't execute in. But, we got a result, got the 3 points, moved on. So,
right.
But the thing is this group needs to understand, can we get better every time we step on the field, whether it's practice, whether it's, one-on-one battle inside the game, whether it's a 50-50 challenge, whatever it is. Can you be better than your opponent, every single time you're up against it? And so that's where we need to start focusing on moving into this playoff run.
Right. And, speaking of that, the last two most recent matches here as we're closing out today, we're supposed to play Pumas again in Mayfield, not Paducah, but it was postponed again. Coach, I heard some stuff about officials weren't available because it was Youth Cup weekend, yada, yada, yada. Will we have to make up that match? Will it be a forfeit by Pumas? Do we know anything at this point?
It looks like it could. We don't know yet. So,
okay.
They also had their game Friday night canceled because of state cup referees as well. They're just not getting over refs over there. The referee assigner decided to step down last week.
Okay, so I did hear that.
So that didn't help them at all either.
Nope.
And we had an interesting, crew on Saturday night. So we can get into that here in a minute.
Let's transition right into it. Deportivo Jalisco, this time in ETown. It was a sloppy match, if I'm just being honest, from a lot of perspective from the broadcast and beyond. But 5-5 draw. I don't know if I've ever seen a 5-5 draw. 1-1, 2-2 at most, but never 5-5. So why did BGFC have to make such a crazy comeback to only get a draw?
Well, and Jimmie, we were kind of harsh on the players after the game. One, we gave up 5 goals. I mean, that's right. At this level, but it's the way we gave the goals up. It was rather frustrating. But what did the team show? They showed incredible grit to come back, and against Beeman we didn't do that.
Right
here on the road in a really tough environment, scoring 3 goals in the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
That shows,
fever comeback.
I mean, it was unbelievable, and so it shows what they are.
Mm-hmm.
What we don't want to see is what we saw for most of the game. We talked in the pregame about being self-disciplined. Not the field was 100 yards long, so anytime you made a silly foul, they were going to serve a ball into the box or anything in your half of the field. They could shoot on target because it was such a small field.
Because is that their normal place?
No, they play.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
But anyway, we make a silly foul early. 2 young guys, talented guys, Jimmie and Ryan. We talked about it. There's 2 of them there. There's one player with the ball. His back is turned to goal. Just force him back. We don't need to clip him and foul him. And then the guy hits a beautiful free kick.
Yeah.
And so now they've got their crowd into it. Now so now they can start to play in their favor. How do they want to play? Well, they want to kick us. They want to chop us down. They want to frustrate us. They want to kick the ball out, and we can never get rhythm. And then it's a small field, so it's super compact, and to be able to move the ball. And plus the surface was incredibly poor. But all that said, you can't go into an environment like that on the road and put yourself in that position.
Right.
And so that's a growing thing for the guys. Can we grow up? Can we get past that? The other thing, Deportivo's got grown men. They're good players. They're strong guys.
They're adults.
Big and physical, and that's how they want to play. At the pit, we could spread them out and just absolutely go through them. But there, it was, we struggled with them. The second goal, we give up a punt, I believe, and the guy flicks the ball on, and center back doesn't track. And, we had some things go down this week where we lost our 2 starting defensive center mids. Our starting center back, both starting center backs, one's not there anymore, and the other one got hurt. So your 4 key pieces through your spine, are not there.
Right.
And so we were trying to solve that problem, inside the game, because all this happened Wednesday night. There's no time to train.
Jesus.
So it was, that was part of the problem. But as players, they're capable, and they know what they should be doing. When a guy's getting ready to flick a ball on, and you're on top of you probably need to start dropping off and track your man. But just reading the game a little bit better, and then I think the third goal, maybe it was the 4th goal. It's just straight clearance.
Yep.
And our 2 center backs are spread out, and no thought process of this is a counterattack opportunity. We've got to get ourselves in a better.
The guy literally just split them.
Yeah, starting position. If this guy plays the ball out, am I in a good position to make sure I can get to the ball first? So it's those are things we've got to grow through, but we're smarter than that, and we can recover those things and sort it out. But like I said, I mean, we kind of switched and went to a 3-5-2 late. Try to get 2 guys up there and just go man on man with their center backs and see if we could just get something and still have wide play, because when we were able to get the ball in wide areas, we were decently effective. you still have to stretch the field, especially as compact as it is, and create angles to penetrate. But, the guys solved the problem. They got the point.
They did.
It was a major point because what it does, Jimmie, is that if we win out, it puts us into third.
Right.
And so we avoid the 4 or 5 game.
Yes.
And that's,
would prefer to do that.
Yes, that's key. So, it's a huge point. And now if we win out these last 2 games, then we'll be where we want to be.
Right. If we did that, if we played in the 3-2 game, would we play probably at Deportivo again then?
No, Deportivo will fall to 4th.
Okay.
And Beeman will fall to 2nd if the Turbide wins out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, last thing, Coach, I want to ask about, I'm kind of hearing from some of the players and some of the people around the team that you don't always play the best starting 11, that maybe you pick some favorites and those are who you ride with. Talk to me about how you go about picking your starting 11 and, is there any truth to you playing favoritism?
Never play favorites, man. We play the guys that deserve it, that earn it. Do we sometimes see a player that can make an impact off the bench and believe that player can give us better 30 minutes than maybe 60?
Right.
From a fitness standpoint? Absolutely.
Demir kind of started out like that. You brought him off the bench early, and now he's starting, right?
Yes. Well, he started in the last game.
Okay.
But how effective was he when he came off the bench in the 30th minute when the opponent was tired?
Right.
Scored 2 goals.
Right.
We did that a little bit with Jimmie last year. Where Jimmie came off the bench and was hugely impactful in the final of last year's conference championship game. So, everybody thinks it's easy to pick a starting lineup. Guys,
it's not FIFA.
It's no, and guys, we're trying to figure out who certain pieces that fit together. One thing I can guarantee you is that, from a record standpoint, it's pretty easy to see that most of the time we get it right.
Yep.
But at the same time, guys have to perform.
Yeah.
There's been guys that have trained really, really well and they look like they should start, and then they get into the game and they don't perform. So that's the real key is can you translate what you're doing in training to the game?
Right.
So, we've had some musical chairs with guys because 1, injury, 2, performance, 3, fitness, things of that nature. 4, if we're trying in a pressing system, does our 9 press with the 7-11 and the 10? Because that's key. Are our outside backs able to get forward and can they play and combine with the 7-11?
Right. Can you get that chemistry going to where you can play off each other?
Can they create overloads? Are they fit enough to do those things? So, Ben was a huge impact off the bench the other day. He came in 30 minutes and really kind of changed the game just with work rate. So that's key. We had an issue. We were trying to figure out a young player at center back, whether he was ready to start against Deportivo or to go with another guy that's a little older and has some college under his belt. And, you have to make a choice there. We as a staff are like, what do we think is the best situation? One player didn't have a great practice on Wednesday night, and so we were like, maybe he's not ready.
Right. Like, what do you do?
Then he came into the game and he responded. You know, so it's easy to always second guess. But it's the easiest thing as a coach would be if all the players would perform perfectly every time. It just doesn't work that way.
I mean, we're dealing with humans and I'm not trying to be coy or anything, but it's not FIFA. You're not going to go in there and automatically have your roster set. This is real.
Yeah. Well, they're not paid professionals,
right?
And so their fitness levels are going up and down. Their performance levels are going up and down, and it's their job. Make it so difficult for me to say, dude, he played 30 minutes. He was incredible. I have to start him the next game.
Right.
And then if you start, can you go 60? Can you go 70? Can you go 75? Yeah. And that's the other thing. Sometimes these guys can't play that long at that level.
Absolutely.
So can they give us their best for 30 minutes? Does that make us a better team? And that's where I have to make that decision. And some of those guys did. We're not singling anybody out, but some of those guys didn't play. They got the start.
Right.
And didn't perform.
Right.
So,
I think that's what happened in the first half against Deportivo. It wasn't as clear cut as it was against the first time when we played them. Like you said, there were some players that just weren't as good as they had been in previous games, and you got to make subs.
Yeah. And, like I said, we've had guys that played incredibly well against the Turbine.
Yep.
And where were they against Hooligans? I don't know. It's the same body, but,
right.
And so, and then, mentally, can you handle the pressure of the game all the time? Not make it about you, but about the team.
Absolutely.
Being selfless instead of, about me, and making it a personal ego battle, and you're making bad decisions that hurt the team.
Right.
So those are all things. They're still, a lot of these guys are, 21, 22 years old, but younger. We've got five guys that are 19 years old.
Jeez.
That were in the team the other night. One was 20, and I think two or three were 21. So we're super young. The talent's there, but these, as a 21-year-old, your mental focus is totally different than a 26, 27-year-old.
Right.
And so, you're still trying to prove yourself and do these things, but play within the team structure, do the things we ask you to do. It's not their job to second guess how the lineup is started. It's their job to perform when they get in there.
Absolutely.
So, and if they'll do that, we'll be successful, I have no doubt. So,
right. We'll make another run, round of 16, round of 8. Who knows this year? But I agree with you. We got to perform. And,
like I said, it's, when you've got 4 guys that you expect to be in the 20-man squad and 3 of the 4 are starting.
Right.
You don't have them there, and it's right through your start. It's a tough adjustment to make. So
I don't think I realized that.
You learn from those guys who can handle it. You know what I mean? Who can handle it. So, those changes will be made in the depth chart this week, and we'll figure it out. All
right. So, Coach, that's the end of my questions. You're out of the pressure room.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on and close us out here for this episode 4 of our BGFC Weekly podcast. Just as a reminder, we do have one final regular season match at ETown again, this time against Elizabethtown Ignite on June 11th. Do we have a time or location for that one yet?
It's in ETown at the sports
Okay,
park.
It'll be at the sports park. Okay.
I don't know what field. I think it's at 7, but it says to be determined right now on the schedule. I believe it's at 7 p.m.
Everywhere it still says to be. So it'll be 7 Eastern, so 6 o'clock back here in Bowling Green.
Correct.
So an hour earlier than our previous match.
Should be. So.
But again, to get that final word, please keep to our social media. We will keep you up to date. I promise you on that. And if you can't make the trip, make sure you also watch us on the live streams. We have a live stream of every match from UPSL standards. Some of them are a little bit better than others, if I'm being honest. But hey, at least it's watchable.
Yeah.
So as a reminder, we are still looking for a full-time sponsor for the podcast. So if you own a business and you would like to sponsor the podcast, please let us know. I know I've reached out to a few people, and I know that you watch the show because I get to watch some of the analytics and get to see who watches and where you're from. So come on, give me a sponsorship. It's not that much. And I promise you'll get a lot of publicity out of it. And then as a reminder, we are still new, so we're working on establishing our schedule and getting things more on track moving forward. But as we're starting to move potentially into the off season, if you have stories that you want us to cover, if you have people that you want us to interview and to talk to, especially if they're from the Bowling Green or the Western Kentucky region, please let us know. And lastly, that typical sign off from every podcast or YouTube video, please make sure you like, rate, subscribe, comment, do all of those things. And that will wrap it up. And this is Jimmie, signing off.